So there is an extra question. I was about taking it to her.
Oh, you got speakers and everything else? Okay. Hey, Roy, I see you. Can you hear us okay? Perfect. Thank
Yes, I
you.
can.
Thanks, Roy.
And that's so that there was a lady so much. I gotta go to Rachel's office first.
All I heard was Rachel's office. No, I
We're
can't.
gonna read Rachel's office first and see what we.
You don't find a bunch.
Yeah. You're minimalist.
I tried. I said, read Teresa's office. If you want to find some.
Yeah.
So how's all the onboarding been going, for, treasurer? Has everything been going? Everything go good?
They've been very good to me.
Awesome.
They're taking it very
Nice.
So it's all good. It's all
Yeah,
good.
you might as well.
Good deal.
And ready to sign checks and all that stuff. So we're in a good spot.
We're hoping,
Excellent.
as long as
I'm ready.
you're ready. Well, I think maybe Barbara has gone now to the bank. She was the last one we were waiting on. You know, everybody's got to sign the new cards
So
and
it has to go physically in, huh?
all
Okay.
three, even though he's the only new one, all three have to go back in and sign again.
Oh, interesting. Nice.
All new signature cards. So,
At least it's fresh.
yeah.
Right?
But it's fine because we have Barbara and Jennifer who can sign.
Yeah,
It's not like we're in a lurch.
yeah.
So, I mean, we might have been more aggressive with Barbara or Jennifer or Carrie had we not had enough signatures, obviously.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to really worry about too much glare. Because the sun's gonna go down in half a second.
Mhm.
My wiggles out. No, I'm 12-year-old. I get it. I tell them it's- Yeah, get the wiggles out. No. That should be coming in soon.
Oh, Jeff is attending this one? Oh, yeah.
I think this is. Hello.
I do
Go
my,
on.
I played roulette with the chairs again.
it's always a mystery.
Yeah.
Hey, well, how you doing?
Keep it fresh.
You're stuck.
Okay.
I can keep an eye on you, but the rest of them, I move around.
Did I get it right? Am I on the right place?
Yeah.
If not,
Right,
you can
thanks.
just-
You're in the right
wait for
meeting.
the names, right? Yeah.
And then Bill, I have, because Katya is brand new, and then Bianca you've met, but I just had them come in for the first part of the meeting.
Okay.
Just because I want to make sure that all the board sees the rounding out of the staff over there.
Awesome. Thank you. That's great. Yeah.
And we don't have a grantee speaker for this meeting, but we do for tomorrow.
Okay, yeah, I saw that. Yeah, I'm excited to see.
And then we've already got March lined up, and then,
Yeah, I think today would probably be a little bit.
probably not, yeah,
That'll probably be enough talking.
yeah, but we won't,
I totally get it. This is
we may
Tuesday,
not
this must be
hunt for
indulgent.
April and May, just
Yes, I
depending
gotcha.
on
But
how to
good.
keep the grant cycle.
Everything good?
All
Thing.
good.
I don't wanna put that cycle to you.
For sure. Yeah.
There should be a plug right behind you.
Oh,
Oh, no, I lied. It's right here. You're fine.
Oh, I see. Okay. Well, I didn't want a tripping hazard back there. I figured let's scrap.
Perfect,
There's more triples up here anyways.
perfect.
looks like Jennifer's on Zoom.
Oh, that's right, she is. You did.
Oh,
tell me.
watch it, hold on. Totally unrelated to one.
How has the grant process been
Not
going
that I
so
can
far?
afford it, but-
Well, it only is open, so nobody's applied yet, but training's fine. I haven't had any questions. I had one new person who reached out to me today via email, so I've redirected them back to the website, like, here's the policy thing, read that. If you fit in here, great. If you have more questions, let me know. But trying to get them reminders about what it looks like.
Yeah.
And then I got a couple of positive responses from some of the sport league people.
Nice.
Okay, so I think what we'll do is I'll try to get them to come and have a meeting. One space if possible, so I can explain, hey, this is what we're looking to do. These are the kinds of requirements the district has on public funds. How would this work within you, so we can make sure that that application or that process is reasonable and still fits within what they do?
Sure.
So we'll see, since that would be under next year's budget. That should work fine.
Barbara.
There's a bee, somebody just popped in, we have a bee.
You selling any houses?
Yeah, I closed one last week, got one in escrow and just talked to somebody an hour ago.
Good deal.
Kind of stepping up. I've got, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 in the funnel that are at various stages of what's gonna happen in order.
Yeah.
So trying to pace this correctly too, so I don't have to burn myself out.
Very good. Yeah.
It's a good problem to have.
Yeah.
Can't thank you for it.
You're steady, right?
Yep, exactly. You never know day to day what's happening. That's Wednesday.
Is Barbara coming in?
Well, I think so. I just called her home and she didn't pick up. So I'm gonna venture to guess she's on her way.
Okay.
Do anybody have her cell phone in their? I do. In your,
I'll text her, right? Caller.
oh, call her, yeah. Yes. I did, for some reason, I didn't have it in my,
That's Bianca. Okay.
yeah.
Hey.
She's like, wait, what?
Hi there, Jennifer. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing good.
I'm gonna make sure we weren't overly muted.
Sorry, I'm doing remote. I'm involved in a little plumbing emergency here that I have to watch after
Oh,
until
Hopefully
the
not terrible.
plumber gets here.
it's too bad. Well, we're
Happens.
glad to have you on Zoom.
Yeah, thank gosh for the Zoom.
Yeah.
No, I don't know how to put it.
Right, okay. That is Barbara. Oh, that's Barbara. She can hear us. We just can't see her. Okay. Oh, there she is.
I was reading her.
You reading?
I reviewed her, just so that we knew what, who, where.
Oh, wonderful.
Well, since you guys don't have the your fellow board members, you're welcome to squeeze in, Barry. I didn't mean to throw you at the end of the table, but you know.
Don't take offense when my chair is all nice and warmed up.
No need to move then. No need. And so we'll think that's set, that's set. So it's all on you for recording when you're ready or are ready.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're just waiting on Jeff to.
Hello? 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 Hey, hello? I can't hear you when you all talk at once.
Well, we can hear you.
This is, okay.
You just called in. This is Al and Ann Broussard of Bonneville.
Yeah. Hi, can you hear us enough?
Say again?
Can you hear us?
Yes.
All right, I'm gonna turn up the volume because we can barely hear you, so I'm just turning up. Please don't scream because now your volume is really loud. There, that should be enough.
And I'm calling in, I'm Lori Brown from Fallbrook.
All right, thank you, Lori.
And I'm calling in, I'm Sylvia Colton from Bonneville.
Thank you.
My screen went blank and I need your help. And my picture is frozen on the screen, so I don't know why about that.
Sometimes the picture may freeze, so if you take your video down, you may have a little more bandwidth.
I never would have attempted this otherwise, so you said you'd help me tonight, I thought you'd even come with me.
So,
Yeah, please, thank you. Alexa, turn on the lights.
okay, we're gonna go ahead and mute the audience so that we can make sure we're not having overtalk. So we would ask that you, if you have a comment and you're on Zoom, if you can either use the reactions and wave your hand, or if you're not familiar with that, turn your video on and literally wave a hand. Or you can also, if you are on the VAST conference call and you have called in, just make a statement that says when it's public comments that you have a comment. We'll take your name and then we'll make sure to get everybody in order. Okay? All right.
We ready to go?
We're good.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and call this special meeting, February 7th, 2023, Board of Directors for Fallbrook Regional Healthcare District to order. Let's go ahead and do a roll call.
Director Leach,
Present.
Director Stanicek,
Present.
Director Miraz, Director Jeffries,
Present.
Director Brown.
Present.
Okay, and Barbara's on Zoom, present. Like
So you're talking.
You'd have to unmute yourself, Barbara. We have the audience muted.
Here you go. Here's the number.
Okay, if you could, audience, just hold it down for just a second. We're gonna have public comments here in just about 5 minutes. If you just hold off as we get through it here, I'd appreciate it. Let's go ahead and do the pledge. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Jeff is having a challenge.
Rachel, you got muted.
There we go.
Okay.
How's your volume now?
You're back.
Thank you, Roy.
So yeah, I appreciate that. So the next thing that we need to do is just get this agenda approved. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda as written?
So moved.
Can I have a second? Second, Director Stanisek. Any discussion? Seeing none, roll call vote, please.
Director Leach,
Aye.
Director Stanicek.
Aye.
Director Miraz, Director Jeffries,
Aye.
Director Brown.
Next item, we have public comments. We have nobody here in attendance in person, but we do have a number of people here either online via Zoom or call-in. We can take your comments one at a time. So do we have any that have emailed in previously?
I had no email comments in, so if anyone is on Zoom, if you have public comment, if you can either unmute yourself and state your name or
Yes.
They can't see me,
We have none on Zoom.
okay.
Do we have any of the call-in attendees that have any public comments at this time?
Oh, no, I'm not calling.
Just go ahead and state your name and you can go ahead and get started.
Okay, this is Michael Hefner. And my understanding is that we're going to be talking about the Taylor design plan. So I have a comment in regards to that on the 10.8 million proposal on this. I believe that the best way that the health district spends their money is on health issues for our community. So I would like to see do things. I'm getting feedback, so it's really hard to hear. To be able to make sure that we have our medical office for urgent care to be taken care of, not have a hospital any longer. We need to try to keep our healthcare urgent care center that we can take care of here for our community. Also to be able to get information to the community through different aspects of through the newspaper, through different media centers that we can know what's going on with the health committee. This is really bad listening to. I don't know what to do.
Do you have,
Michael, if I didn't have time to come back.
all right, do you have Zoom on in the background?
I do, but I don't know how to turn that one on or off.
All right, the feedback you're getting is because you have the sound on your Zoom computer, so you'd either need to turn that one off. You'd need to mute that on your end, turn off your speakers. And we will have public discussion again when we get to that topic specifically. So we can open up comments if you want to continue your comments specific to the Taylor design at that point.
Okay, I'll try to figure out how to work that.
Okay.
Fair enough. Do we have someone else on the line that would like to go now, or you're also welcome to wait till we get to the discussion item if you prefer.
My name is Lori Brown. I'd like to just say something on the same topic Michael was talking about, if possible.
Yes, ma'am, go right
It
ahead.
would be a good idea to keep as many urgent cares here locally as we can and provide any kind of drug abuse prevention programs that we can. And also I did hear from a neighbor that there is a program to help veterans get transportation to their medical visits, but it's kind of on a voluntary basis and they are lacking in drivers and vehicles. So I think that's something that would be nice to get back to people who do everything.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much for those comments. You're also welcome, if you have any further comments when we get to the discussion item, to say anything on that as well. Do we have, you're welcome. Do we have anybody else on the call?
Yes, unmute yourself.
Hello, can you hear me? I'm Cindy Custer.
I'm sorry, what was your name, ma'am?
Cindy Custer.
Okay, go ahead.
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Yes, so I heard that last lady talk and I agree with that. It would be very nice to have lots of urgent cares and since we don't have the hospital. And I like the idea of having more drivers and vehicles for the veterans to get to appointments and things. And regarding the alternate use venues, something I had read about, what did they have in mind? Because we already have nice venues in town, like the Montserrat Winery and near Alvarado and Maine is a wedding venue. So what kind of venues were they thinking of when they say alternate?
Ma'am, I appreciate your comments. If you'd like to, kind of continue, with the meeting, when we get to that item, there's gonna be a presentation, there's gonna be some discussion on that. I would say that we're not trying to compete as like some sort of, venue for weddings or anything like that. It's basically, it's a medical purpose and like I said, we'll definitely be going over more on that subject when we get to that discussion item. And we will open it up for discussion as well before we deliberate and decide anything. So I would urge you to kind of stay on with the meeting. When we get to that, we'll have a presentation. And if you have any specific questions or comments about anything at that point, we can address it at that time.
Okay,
If that works for you.
yes, thank you.
My name is Alan Broussard. I'd like to make a comment.
Okay,
I live in Barnesville and I'm a former healthcare professional, retired. And I just can't believe that we don't have urgent care in Fallbrook, Apollo communities. It just seems unconscionable that we're like selling our urgent care and doing these ancillary services that are outside primary care services that we need in Fallbrook for our citizens. I don't understand this $10.8 million expenditure. I really want to see us use the facilities and the infrastructure we have, people that are there, like the better people that are there to provide services on a personal basis.
I appreciate that. There's been a couple of comments on the subject. Just as a point of fact, I just wanted to point out to any of the callers that we have supported an urgent care. We supported after hours urgent care services here in Fallbrook ever since the hospital closed to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. We still own the urgent care building we just sold the urgent care building that's here, that's an operating urgent care right next to our facility. So the healthcare district has supported urgent cares and has been continually supportive of them and the idea of more of them. So do we have any other comments at this time?
we have two folks on Zoom.
Yes, this is Sylvia Colton, and I am a senior, and I needed urgent care when I broke my ankle. It was the third urgent care that I was able to get into because the other two were closed. Not that they were closed for the day, and it was like after 5 o'clock. I had the third urgent care that I went to, and they didn't even put my cast on right when I broke my ankle. When I finally was able to go to the hospital, they told me, "Who put this on? It wasn't the right one." So I think the committee there have not really looked at the urgent cares that are available at Fallbrook because they are not up to date. And the people that work there are not doing a good job. I am a perfect example of that. So I think we need to look at all the urgent cares that you have in town.
Ma'am, I appreciate those comments. At this time, it kind of seems like, hold on just one second. It seems like a lot of our comments are being directed towards our agenda item. At this time, I'd like to take any comments that aren't specifically directed towards that agenda item. If we have those, we can take those first. And if everybody else is on the call or would like to speak, I see some hands raised on the Zoom. We're definitely give everybody their opportunity to speak, but if your comment or question is regarding the item, which is the potential action item of spending the $10.8 million and everything everybody's mentioning, I would kind of prefer to do the presentation and talk about actually what's being discussed first. And then we can take your comments or questions at that point if it's on that subject. So does anybody on the call or on the Zoom right now have a comment that's not directly related to item D on the agenda?
If I may, I'm so sorry because I have a therapy with my son at 6, so I won't be able to go. I'll stay on for the presentation.
Yeah, go ahead. Yep.
But I be able to see the whole presentation. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of spending 10.8 million, with Taylor Design Plan to produce a community service center for weddings, private celebrations, and events. It seems out of the realm of what we have elected you guys for, and maybe you'll explain better in your presentation. But it just seems unrelated to health services. I feel like that 10.8 million could be more sufficiently used, getting us a hospital back here or something, but not, we're not in the business of buying real estate and making money off that real estate. That's not what your funds are for, is my understanding. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, I appreciate that. Is anything, any other comments not related to the action item?
Was Tanner, right?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none, I'm gonna go ahead and close public comments in item C for the time being. We'll move on to discussion, possible action items in item D. And when we're done with our presentation, we will open it back up for public comment. If anybody has a comment or question on the particular item, we'll hear you at that point. So item D. Rachel, do you have any presentation or anything to say, or?
Well, the idea was that we were pretty much following these agenda items that came out of a recommendation and forward from facilities. So actually, Jennifer, do you want to go ahead and talk to the bullet point regarding the budget amount?
Yes, thank you so much, Chair, for a moment for the Facilities Committee to share some ideas we developed in our last meeting. And I know Barbara Mraz is, I think, still on the line, but what we're recommending to our board colleagues is threefold. As setting the table, we did receive from Taylor Design project ideas ranging from $6 million to $2.8 million. The lesser for one part of the property that we own and the larger for the whole property. Barbara and I were able to talk about that, and we realized, as with others, that $10.8 million is not the route to go. We are recommending to our board member colleagues that probably not tonight, but perhaps in the nearer future, is to decide on a budget amount that we are comfortable with in terms of investing in the Community Health and Wellness Center to provide spaces for the very services that we are currently offering in a restricted fashion, but would like to add to and expand. We have over 50 organizations using the Health and Wellness Center on a rotational basis now. So our first recommendation is to recommend that we now go to a more specific thought about how much of our liquid assets that we've acquired over the time from purchasing or receiving from the sale of the hospital and have placed in our investments, that we decide on a number we're comfortable with, that we feel is a legitimate number for investing on behalf of the current community and for the population in years to come, that would support drug prevention programs, family-oriented programs, wellness programs, prevention programs, all of the things that are being talked about. So we approach this initially as, let's see what the architect can do with our land. We now know it's a range of things that they feel we could do with our vision and mission of health and wellness in our community in mind. We need to narrow that down in order for them to give us schematic drawings that are more specific relative to cost. We will no doubt then have to modify that as well until we come to the amount of money that the board is comfortable with in spending. The second step we feel is important is to look at facility priorities. In our conversation, Barbara and I recognize that what we're calling Building A, which is the main building with what was the church sanctuary, and the parking lot are the primary areas of interest. The education building is not, we would not recommend it be put in the mix for this particular development project. It's adequate as it is, and it's providing some really great spaces for community organizations to do different programs. And then lastly, to consider in the near future, having Taylor Design provide us with the next level of contract for them to be able to develop the more specific schematics that will help us understand the more specific costs of various projects or various parts of the development of what we're calling Building A. So the first order we think is to discuss and decide what amount of our liquid assets we believe should go into that community health and wellness center. And then we could move to the types of facility priorities and the Taylor Design contract to bring us more specific figures. And I don't see Barbara online, but I'm going to ask if she has any other additions she'd like to make as a member of the committee.
Is Director Mraz online?
That's what we're checking.
Okay. Just 1 second here.
No, I'm also glad
Yeah,
to take any questions board colleagues might have.
So Barbara is online.
Barbara, do you can you hear us? Do you have any comments here? Are you muted?
There you go, Barbara.
Okay, we'll just hold off. If you try to unmute, I'll definitely come back to you here, Barbara. Terry, do you have any comments coming from the finance committee or as the treasurer?
Yes, as I would propose that instead of us looking at it as how much money do we have to spend and then decide what we're going to do, let's decide which are the true priorities that we need to have done on a certain time frame, like right now. And then look and see whatever it costs to get that accomplished. For example, Teresa was kind enough to spend some time with me yesterday and given me a good quality tour of our property there. And I have a whole different, a more complete vision of what our asset is. I would propose that without a doubt, we start on the parking lot. Is an accident waiting to happen is one of our seniors falling down there. So, that to me is priority number one. priority number 2 is the education building, and I would take a different approach than Director Jeffries in that, from my view, it appears as though we are really starting to use that education building. Especially given the fact that we've moved some of our offices over there. But we have some of those classrooms that are totally untouched and complete. Our HVAC systems there are not totally working for that particular building. It was cold as heck in there. We should not have our staff working in there with that kind of a situation. We should not be inviting our seniors in to do yoga classes and whatever else it might be, unless we have a totally complete building for them to be in. So I would propose that we be prepared and willing to spend some money to, let's get the parking lot done, let's get it look halfway decent, get it where it's safe and usable. Let's use that education building. It's a nice, it's got good bones to it in my mind. And it would be a better use of our funds to get that fully up and running. Building A, the church, has some areas that we could work on at this point in time. Certainly that area that is the classroom back by the kitchen area, and certainly the bathrooms and that sort of thing. We could consider doing something on an interim basis there. I know that one of our people, Mr. Musa, suggested that if you're in for it, you might as well go in and do the whole darn thing to make it less expensive. I appreciate that. I've done building, I get it. But in my mind, that is not our best approach. But I would suggest let's do the parking lot, let's get the education building done. They're relatively easy fixes as far as the paint, the carpet, getting the ceiling panels done, get the HVAC up and running. And maybe do something to give it a little better entrance facade as far as the whole front entrance kind of a thing, since aside from having a blue door, we can do better than that, but let that be our start. I was impressed by the number of chairs that I saw set up for the yoga class. It looked like they had a pretty darn good sized class, but I was ashamed of our venue. We could do better. So that would be my suggestion to start.
I appreciate that. Thank you. Director Stanisek?
Yeah, I've kind of been looking at all the past history, historical documents, the budgets, the costs. For me, it always starts with the need first, and then you work it down through facility or what needs to be improved or added in order to hit the prioritized list of needs that we want to serve. So that's the approach I was kind of looking at in terms of looking at the data we've had from all the surveys. Clearly, there's a health aspect that we need to be prioritizing as number one. We heard a lot in the comments about wedding venues and alternate use, which I think is probably needs to be just re-communicated correctly. The objective is health programs. The objective is to get the building to a safety level. And I agree with you. I think by looking at the two properties and the classes and the services that we want to offer, which building is best suited for that, and then what needs to get done to make it really top notch. So I think that approach from the top down of need first, then facility, then the budget will flow from that as well. So that's my opinion.
I appreciate that.
Yep.
Do we,
Updates on
yeah,
facility?
can we have maybe an update just on the status of the educational building? I think that most of the stuff there is kind of completed. I don't know if there's
Yeah, there's
other things
actually-
we still have to do there.
There's actually several things that we actually have scheduled, Terry, to your point. The education building where the staff is, their HVAC is brand new, so they're set where they are. The two classrooms, which is classroom 1 and classroom 4, the one on the most southern end, the HVAC is actually scheduled to be installed on February 20th. So that'll be put forward. We are getting ready to demo out the old cabinets and non-functioning sink in there. Once that is out, then we'll recarpet, repaint, and we'll have a good solid shell that's usable for any particular kinds of programming. So that's almost ready. Classroom
Was that
three,
part of the budget number that we had for Taylor Design?
no. Taylor Design, their instruction from day one was that education building, we would do our own tenant improvements on that.
Wow.
So, classroom 3 and classroom 6, the very far north classrooms, those are pending any upgrades because we're looking at that space potentially having a tenant that would be bringing services specifically to help support some of the medical and other services for seniors. So we're waiting on what that relationship could look like to fill those 2 particular rooms. And then that would be the bulk of the usability of that. We are looking at, and I'm awaiting an estimate for painting the exterior because it is a metal building and has a specific set of needs, right? So we are looking at that piece.
How was the roof on that building?
The roof is brand new. We put that roof on 3 years, 2, 3,
About 3 years.
probably about 3 years ago now.
But the roof on building A, the church is not new.
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Untouched.
So pretty much everything in the last 3 years has been a Band-Aid on building A and upgrade to more current usability for the education building. So that's why in the education building, you see spot areas that are newer. And that is where we've been working to get that set and up and running because it needed the least amount of overhaul, if you will. So your HVAC is such. We did nothing as far as planning for the parking lot because there had been conversation that if something was going to happen with building A, you don't want them driving over your brand new parking lot. So we wanted to try and figure out how that would work. But that is not, I mean, obviously a parking lot's a parking lot. We know what to do there. But the property or the building itself for the education building, there are specific plans to make it fully usable for all the rooms.
And what did we have planned for the residential building?
That was mostly cosmetic, a few small things. The idea was that we already have one of our grantees bringing services there. The idea that our lifestyle change diabetes program would be functioning out of that space. And then potentially other service providers would work out of that as well. So that will probably require some new paint, some carpet, again, more cosmetic, not as much structural, other than the backyard area, which has some significant ADA issues.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I would certainly be in favor of us investing some money in that particular building for its current use. It makes total sense.
Yeah.
And if it's a painted carpet or whatever else it needs to facilitate the cancer center there, I'm good with that.
Yeah. So that's essentially what has been built into more the operational side of the budget, not really addressing the large development level budget.
And I would just urge facilities, Jennifer and Barbara, like if there's anything that you guys want to get accomplished there in the facility within your committee structure, please, feel free to attack some of those things that are just, common sense repairs that need to get done or, anything. I'm sure that most of us would be in favor of, getting those things done and, a timely manner. So, Director Mraz, I see you're on here. Can you hear us? Would you like to unmute and make some comments?
She's unmuted, but we can't hear her. We can't hear you, Barbara.
Okay.
Get a yellow pad and just write it out.
Oh, his weight has raised his hand.
Okay, I'm gonna make my own comments here. Roy, if you just give me a second here, I'll definitely open it back up to public comment here. And for everybody else on the line, you'll be welcome to make your comments at that point. So I would just agree with number one, a lot of the commenters so far. Like I wouldn't be in favor of a wedding and venue center or spending $10.8 million numbers or any of that stuff. I would say that that's largely fake news. In our last meeting, if you didn't attend or read the minutes, pretty much the first thing that the board said when we were presented with that figure was that it was unworkable for us and that we were definitely not in favor of that. So definitely not something that we're, gonna move forward with. We have the plans and we're looking to basically figure out what we can do with it. The money that we have is from the hospital sale and the contingency fund. And, our job as a healthcare district is to spend the money in a way that benefits the community and promotes good, positive health and helps our residents. In the past couple of years, we've had a number of community engagement events where we've asked for ideas for uses from the public. We've engaged with different consultants over the years, Catalyst, who came up with a comprehensive report on healthcare disparities in our community, Centriforce, which again did a demographic and health data report for us. So when the board looks at these plans, we're looking at it from the perspective of a board that's well informed with some of the healthcare needs in the community and what the community has asked us for over the past 6 years. Myself as a board member, I, would like to see a lot of the stuff that I heard from the commenters and some of the stuff that we actually have going on right now. Programs for veterans, we're all for it. Somebody mentioned something about drug abuse programs. I think we have support groups going and, we've attempted to promote programming like that. Commenter mentioned bringing seniors to doctor's appointments. We actively fund programs like that. We have for a number of years and will continue to do so. And so this board has and will continue to be supportive of a lot of those programs and ideas. The same thing for urgent care. If you go back and you do your research, we've supported urgent care facilities in this community for a long time. Myself as a board member, I'm a community member as well. I've been in those situations where I've needed to use the urgent care or I've wanted to use a healthcare facility around and it hasn't been there as well. So on my time in the board, I've always wanted that. I've always, as a board member, wanted that. And I would just say that that's something that we'll continue to push. I don't think that the hospital's really an option. With the money that we have in the bank, we need 100 times more. So this board has done its due diligence and looking to try to do that before we sold the hospital property. So at this point, it's just we have this money sitting in the bank. It does absolutely nothing for the community as it sits in the bank. We continue to fund these programs yearly. It doesn't come out of that money. And we have a facility that we've purchased with the idea to try to do something positive for the community, promote a lot of these healthcare programs that we want to see in the community make an impact. So that's kind of where I'm at with it. I agree with both of the directors here. We definitely need to look at a priority list. I would look to facilities to kind of, push some of that, but I think that we can start looking at that. I don't know if we have a more broken down estimate or a way to break it down even further than what they did as far as the option A, option B, but I would be in favor of hearing about that and kind of moving forward like that.
So I know Jennifer had her hand up and I know Roy does as well.
Okay, I'll hear from Jennifer and if I have any other board comments, and then I'll open it up to the public and I'll listen to whatever comments that the public has on the subject. Director Jeffries?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I agree on the education building, and Rachel did brief us on the ongoing projects that are underway there. Refresh my memory, Rachel, the HVAC issue is within the operational budget at this point?
We had planned that it would still fall under the community development funds, but it's designed for this year.
Okay.
So we had planned to budget it for this year.
Okay, because I think that is a gem, as Terry said, it has great bones. It was built as a school, so it's a solid structure. And it has great promise for us. I am interested in that larger room that's in abeyance right now, because we're expecting a potential tenant in there for various health services that could be interesting. So that all makes sense to me. Relative to the priority versus budgeting, I agree form follows function. And we did ask Taylor to do specific facility priorities that are in their plan, mainly having to do with multi-purpose areas in Building A that could morph as need be for whatever community group or provider group or vendor group that might come in with health and wellness center activities. So we've got a little bit of an insight into that through their initial take on the potential spaces there. And then, of course, deciding on the budget to invest in that property. So thank you, Chair.
Okay. Anything else from the board before I open it up to the public?
I'm good.
Okay. At this time, I'll open it up for public comment. I see Roy has his hand up. I'll let you go first, and then I'll go through anybody else on Zoom, and then we'll start going through the phone callers. Go ahead, Roy.
Thank you, Bill. I think what I am perceiving from the public comments that have been made so far, it appears that the public is looking for a return on investment. And by that, they're basically asking, how does every dollar spent improve public health and welfare? And it needs to be improved in a way that it is not available elsewhere. And so I think that that's the direction we need to go in. And what the steps would be is we need to clarify what improvements to public health and welfare will be accomplished, and then determine the cost to help achieve that goal, and then educate the public on it. And I think that if the public perceives a return on investment that will benefit them health-wise and welfare-wise, then I think that the cost will be justified no matter what it may be. But that's really the direction we need to go in, is justify how we're going to improve public health and welfare. And then I don't think the cost will be an issue, to be honest with you, if the public is convinced of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. Do I have anybody else that's on Zoom that would like to unmute and make comments?
Okay, we have, it looks like Margie, if you want to
Yes.
unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Margie Farr. I live here in Fallbrook, and I totally agree with what Roy is saying. And Terry's comments were great. And I have had some issues needing to go to the urgent care, and you can't get to anything without going all the way to Temecula or back to Encinitas. So anyway, I thank you for all being here and doing what you're doing. But I really like Roy's comments on, we have to go back to the community first. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Anybody else on Zoom? No?
It doesn't look like it.
Do we have any callers?
Barbara, unfortunately, we still can't hear you. It looks like you're muted still.
Are you saying Barbara or Deborah?
Okay,
We said Barbara on Zoom, but unfortunately, Barbara, we can't.
You can unmute the call if you're doing, you can unmute everybody and then,
No, that's not the problem, Margie.
No?
We're
Okay.
having problems with her microphone.
oh, okay.
Thank you, though. We appreciate that. Okay, I'll take a comment from a caller on the phone. If you could just say your name, go one at a time and go ahead and go for it.
My name is.
Hold on one
Yeah,
moment.
yeah, one second.
Turn that back.
Let's try to turn this up. We couldn't really hear you. So just one second.
Hold on one second. We're trying to get your volume up. Okay, if I can have one of the speakers, please.
Hello,
Yes, please.
my name is Deborah here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I've been a resident of Bonsall for 32 years. Well, actually, 32 years plus 7 on the other side. I had gone into and had treatment at the Fallbrook Hospital a few times, some emergencies and some not. And I really appreciated the hospital being there. There's 2 things I don't understand what you're talking about. 2 buildings. One apparently you want to sell, and it's a fallacy that they want to turn it into a social venue.
So just for point
Is
of
that right?
clarification, we're not looking to sell any of the buildings. The district purchased the property in 2018. The idea is
Yeah.
to determine to what extent we'll invest funds to upgrade or redevelop the property.
I'm only saying that because I see that you have on number 3, instead of selling the 5,136 square foot medical office building located adjacent. I'm speaking about number 3. And that is currently operating as an urgent care. The district should be operating that urgent care. I think that's logical.
Ma'am, just as just a point of clarification, we're not discussing selling any sort of urgent care building here today. We're talking about a property that we operate on Mission Road that doesn't have anything to do with an urgent care, hasn't been an urgent care at any point. So we're not discussing
Okay.
any sort of sale
All right.
or removal of an urgent care. And like I said,
Okay.
previously, we've constantly been supportive of urgent care facilities in the community. And if had opportunities to continue to do so, we would continue to do so.
All right. Can you, pardon me for one moment, then getting back to your number 1 change that you wanted to make was not to use it as a social venue. In that someone earlier in the discussion said that was false information. So I had heard that it wanted to be turned into some sort of community center. And I think there are already a few of those in Fallbrook, and I would prefer it be held for some of those other issues that you have with collecting drugs, helping people in the community with lectures and information and things like that. Not using it for a social venue like weddings and parties and things like that. Am I clear on that?
Yes, we appreciate your comments, and I would say definitely agree with them. The facility.
Okay, I'll just go away and just keep listening then.
I appreciate that. And but before we go with any other commenters, I would just encourage all of you that are on the call or interested in the subject to attend more meetings. Come out to our meetings. Sometimes we constantly are asking the public for input, and some of these things that you guys are asking about or talking about, we've been discussing for years. So if you want to be involved, we welcome you to come out, and we've done these Zooms. So even if you need to do it via Zoom, please continue to participate. Do I have any other?
I would like to. Yes, I would speak.
Okay,
Hello.
what's your name, ma'am?
My name's Lindsay Jones. I just would like to echo the sentiments of the people calling in. I think it's imperative that we utilize funds to support the medical issues of Fallbrook and build that infrastructure, especially as we grow as a town. And especially as we're dealing with more and more fentanyl abuse. It'd be great as a mom, I have 5 kids, to have a place for kids to go to be educated about, like, you know, drug use and that sort of thing. So I can think of about 10 million things that we could do to make our medical system in this town better. And I would love for my tax dollars to go towards, you know, building that up.
Yeah, I appreciate your comments, Rachel.
Yeah, so to the callers and all, I do want to make sure that we point out, the district has just brought on our community resource navigator. Katja is in the room. We are getting her up to speed on all the various resources in the community. Bianca is also in the room. She is our programs coordinator. So these types of programs that are interested, that the community is interested in, besides the ones that were provided to us from Catalyst, from our community needs assessment, we are taking stock and information on the kinds of programs that the community is interested in. So I would encourage anyone, if you have a particular type of program or service that you'd like to see the district have more maybe availability or access to please reach out to me so that we can make sure that we're building that list. But there has been a lot of interest, and we are working on programs specifically to help support the community to understand some of the drug abuse and prevention programming, some lifestyle change programming. We do have an extensive list of current programming and some that will be coming online this year. So do know that we would encourage that information, and I know it's tough in this kind of setting, but to reach out to me specifically so I can connect you to our programming staff out there as well.
Can I just make one more note of interest is potentially, would you mind reaching out to the Village News and letting them know that you're looking for community input on this? Because I think that you might get a good amount of feedback if you, you know, sort of market the fact that you're looking for feedback. Because I think that a lot of people would love to give their thoughts.
We are happy to do that again. We've done that many times over the last few years, but yeah, we have plans again. We are continuing to do that via email, social media, and of course through Village News. So we'll put something together and try and maybe organize a more of a community forum again as well.
Thank you.
Do we have anybody else on the phone?
Hi there. Yes. My name is JJ Neek. Thank you guys for doing behind the scenes. I'm newer to Fallbrook, and so I'm excited to learn more. But I also just the comments about using the money that was from the hospital to stay in the realm of healthcare or health education. You know, a lot of the projects that you guys have going on versus something more socially.
You're starting to break up a little bit.
On your speakers, yeah.
So again, if you called in via phone, we do ask that you mute your Zoom screens.
Okay, are you still there? I don't know if you have any other comments.
Yes. No, that's thank you guys.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else?
Yes, I'm Cindy.
Just one of you guys go ahead, one at a time, please.
I'm Esther. Is it my turn?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Okay, thank you. So I'm so glad to know that the Taylor design contract isn't an issue. Then you won't be looking for alternative venues. And I do love the idea of having the Fallbrook swimming pool available during holidays for us to to do exercise in? Is this a good time to bring that up?
Ma'am, you're welcome to make comments, but because it's not specifically on the agenda, we can't take any sort of action. We're hearing a lot of feedback. I would direct you to contact the office here and talk to Rachel. She can definitely direct you to the right staff, and like Rachel mentioned, we've asked for input ever since before we bought the building. So I know myself as a board member, I've taken part in at least 3 or 4 community events that were over there that were specifically to try to get input. And I'm not saying that, hey, we've already done it, I don't want any more input. We'd love to have your input. All of the community members, we put out tons of ads in the newspaper, and we've almost ad nauseum tried to market, to get people out to hear about it. And like we mentioned, we've spent money on the research to try to find out what sort of healthcare needs we need. I don't think any of us is in favor of a wedding facility or social. Like our purview is healthcare, and anything we do in the facility is going to be tailored to that. That's our jurisdiction. That's what the tax dollars are for. It's for us to invest in sort of healthcare uses, and that's continually been our focus and basically our legal authority.
Here, thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Do I have, I think we have a few more. Do we have another one?
This is Alan Broussard.
Sir?
And, okay,
Yeah, if you could just turn down your speakers.
I don't have any Zoom calling in on my. I'm just calling, okay, let's see. Okay, it's not me. I'm not on the speaker, I'm just on the phone talking to you. No Zoom, nothing.
Okay, perfect.
You're good now. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, great. I'm sorry, as I said, it wasn't me. Anyway, my point is simply this, that, hey, I want to say, first of all, thank you guys for being on the board and doing the community service. And it must be very frustrating to hear us all tell you what you've been going over all these years over and over again. And we totally appreciate that.
Yeah, I'm sorry, can you take one more comment?
Yeah, I was going to say,
I have some.
I was going to say, thank you guys for doing that, but I wanted to say that I think that the reason to spend the 10.8 million, because it's sitting there in the bank account, not doing much for us right now, is not the best reason to spend that money. And I think there's a lot of things we can do that maybe are different. That's all.
Okay.
I'll take your responses offline. Thank you.
Sir, thank you. I had another commenter. You go ahead now, sir.
Okay, this is Michael Hefner. Sorry, I was on mute when I was speaking. I'm going to go ahead and reach out to Rachel so we can talk about some of the things that are outside of this agenda item. You're talking about the mission location at this point in time. I was just wondering if the board has looked at possibly moving the administration office over to the mission location, so we just have one location for the Fallbrook Health District, and then either selling or leasing out that administration office.
We don't actually have any sort of plan for that. The idea was to keep the Community Health and Wellness Center open for overall community sources. Currently, the admin building is used for a number of different things, but Michael, you said you had a number of different conversations, so we can discuss that offline, and then I can bring anything else back to a different board meeting as an agenda item if you have further questions. Would that work okay?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then, Barbara, can we hear you this time? Nope.
Oh, too bad.
Should I call her? Can she call in?
Do I have any other public comments? Okay, seeing no other public comments, I'm gonna go ahead and close that section. I would urge any of the participants that attended the meeting tonight via Zoom or on the phone call to do just what Rachel said, reach out, call the office tomorrow during business hours and try to talk to Rachel. If there's enough momentum towards a lot of people giving input, we might look at maybe a community event where we can get more people in and again, get more of your ideas. I think that, you know, all of us are in favor of collaboration and trying to get the most. So thanks for everybody's participation, and I would say continue to participate, and like I said, reach out to Rachel on that. Do we have anything else on this? Probably not. So any other board comments after the comments that we got from the public?
Make sure they're all muted.
Yeah, this is the joy and the pain of hybrid meetings, whether via the phone. The phone is the most difficult because we can't control the individual settings. We do appreciate the Zoom because that definitely makes that a lot easier. Those of you who are on the phone, if Zoom is a challenge for you, I'd also ask you to reach out to me because we may be able to support you in different options with that, just so that you have a better ability to interact. I don't have any other.
Okay. Well, I think at this point, like, you know, I don't know that we're ready for any sort of vote, unless I would entertain any sort of motion if we have one.
Well, I would just like to say that, I would certainly like to see us start, parking lot, whatever you have in the works for the education building, I'm all for it. I mean, to my mind, that's where the living and breathing part of what we do is gonna happen, is in that particular building. It's not gonna happen here. It may sometime down the road happen in building A, but it certainly is gonna be happening. For those services that we aren't contracting out or covering with our grants and that sort of thing, the education building is where we're gonna be living, as far as I'm concerned, you know, as far as I can see. So, let's get the HVAC done, let's get it pretty, let's get it nice, let's get it really something that speaks well for us and inviting to our community to come in and use our facilities. We can always get to building A down the road, whatever we need to do with it. But the education building, in my mind, is where it is.
Sure. Director Jeffries, I see your hands up. Yeah, would you like to make some comments here?
Yeah, thank you. I'm curious about the plans for the reorientation in Building A of the restrooms in order to build out the demonstration kitchen for healthy living classes. We seem to be looking at Building A, and maybe we need to bifurcate between the sanctuary per se and the other half of that building, which has a lot of potential for health and wellness activities, but until it's reconfigured, it's really kind of a meeting room with very little value past that. And I'm just curious what people's feelings are about that.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing about building A. Is there an incremental gap or big issue right now that needs immediate fulfillment? I've heard the restrooms, I've heard that the meeting room.
The roof.
Yeah, is there some things we can do that are just have to get done right now? So it's not just a building A conversation or an education building it's the properties, objectives and priorities, wherever they may land. In what building or parking lot or whatever it might be. But what are those top three things that we just need to go forward? I think taking the steps and moving and showing progress is going to help also with the awareness and getting people more engaged in conversations with us. So,
Yeah, my sense of it is building it has a lot of potential to it, but it's gonna take it's not a little bit. once you start, it's gonna be a lot of money to do whatever we want to do. That is only like $10.8 million, but it's gonna be a fair chunk of change to do something significant with that particular piece of our asset. And that's something we probably should look at and decide, you're right, Jennifer, we can bifurcate that particular part of the project, and we could do probably something with that end of it that has the kitchenette and whatever. There's nothing wrong with the cathedral part, if you want to call it that, the church part. You can't do a lot with it. It's noisy as heck when you have venues in there. I've been in there for one of the events and stuff, and it's noisy. It's cool, but it's noisy. But to my mind, the education building is where we are. And then when it comes to the building, hey, then that'll be a separate.
And I would add to it is right now, what is the program load and how's it distributed across those two parts?
Mhm.
Because if we have a 50-50 load on those two buildings, then we have the potential, okay, where's that 50% go if we're not gonna do anything? Or we have to do something on the other side.
Yeah.
So it's where are things happening location wise, will also drive some of the priorities in terms of.
Well, my sense of it is after spending time with Teresa over there, is that's a building, that education building, that's a big building.
Mhm.
There's lots of space to do lots. Yeah, we've been brought online, so to speak, that we can't fairly easily, so. Unless there's something that's going on in building A that we can't do in the education building, I don't know what that would be. You talk about your cooking classes and stuff, you got the residents down there too, although that's a smaller venue. At the house, but.
Well, let me propose this, maybe, if we can go back to, potentially, facilities. And maybe get a list of the immediate priorities that we need to address in the education building. I would be open to potentially getting bids for the parking lot. That's obviously like one of the things that needs to get done. Jennifer, you had mentioned potentially maybe getting a quote on just the bathrooms and the kitchen area. I would be open to, potentially looking at that. If we want to run that through facilities, because again, I think that those are all active uses that we could attack. I mean, something like that with the kitchen, if the kitchen were to get done, that's a good opportunity for us to do some of the programming that the commenters mentioned, healthcare, training for kids and all sorts of different stuff. So, that's what I would propose, Jennifer. I don't know if you have any comments on that.
You took the words right out of my mouth. Barbara and I can take those issues up with Rachel, and probably in a quicker pace than monthly facilities meetings, because we really want to get some things going. So if you're comfortable, we'll pick up where this conversation is left off and start to generate some concrete approaches and priorities.
Okay, and then just real quick, what's the amount that they can approve just on their own in the facilities committee?
So current policy is expenditures up to 10,000 I can do, as long as they're obviously related to the project's not some random thing. And then anything under $25,000, anything above $25,000 has to go through full bid. But that 10 to 24,999 is pretty much full purview of facilities. Typically, they would make that recommendation, that approval, we would move it forward for information to the board.
Okay. Well, I mean, you have that information there. I think that we should definitely attack, any of the obvious things. And, I definitely trust you guys down there in facilities to kind of figure that out. But, I think that the board as a whole is open to getting the stuff done that can make the facility operate in a better manner. And, I've said kind of all along, the plans are beautiful. I mean, if in a perfect world, if we had unlimited money and we could just do whatever we wanted, that's great, but at the end of the day, as a board, it's our job to figure out what's going to work for the community and what's going to benefit the community the most. And obviously, our business here is healthcare and promoting things that are going to help the health of the community. So, that's kind of where we're at. And, so I'd go with that. And then for the public, like I said, please reach out and talk to Rachel and staff and give your input. The committee meetings are also public meetings. So if you look on our board calendar, the meeting that we're discussing right now for them to go back to facilities and discuss some of these issues, it's a public meeting. You're welcome to attend. You're welcome to, again, give your public comments at that point and hear their deliberations and anything that they might be discussing. So I definitely encourage you to do that and come out. It definitely, the more input we get, the easier it makes our jobs. So please come on out. Go ahead and close out of that item. Do we have any board member comments or any future agenda items?
I just have one question. And it's just a question. As it relates to the hospital, which we no longer have. Did we have the license? Was the license under our name when we were operating that hospital, no matter who was running it?
Yeah, the district owned the license and then we leased out to
Right.
community
Okay.
health.
So,
Actually, we had to transfer the license to community health. They had during the term of the lease, we didn't have the license. And that basically went away when the hospital went away.
so really where I was going was, what happened to the provider number? Did we lose the provider number, the 05 number?
Let me get back to you on that. I'll have to look at that tomorrow. But I think we did. Yeah, I think that when the hospital closed down, we lost the provider number
Okay.
because we weren't able to maintain it.
Well, you can't have the license without the provider number, and you can't have
Right.
the without the license. But my point was, there was some discussion some time back about some of the services that we could and might be providing through the Health and Wellness Center that might let us be able to bill for those services. So I got to thinking that if we still had either a license or our provider number, we would be able to bill for services. For example, if we brought a provider in and they did eye exams or just pick something that's billable to the feds. If we still had that provider number, we could bill for those services legitimately. That otherwise we'd have to recreate the whole thing, and I don't know. But I would put that task on anybody, but if it was already existing, then we could certainly use it. Listen.
Well, I appreciate those comments. Yeah, Jeff, if you want to maybe kind of dive into that a little bit and get back to us on that. I mean, I'm sure that we're all kind of curious. So,
Yes. Okay.
Mike, do you have anything? Okay, Director Jeffries or Director Moss, do you have any comments or future agenda items?
Nope.
Righty, well, just for me, I just want to thank the audience again. We appreciate your input. It's always nice to see a lot of people on the calls and people that are interested in what we're doing here. Definitely encourage you guys to come back out. Thanks to staff for putting everything together and dealing with all the technological issues that we've been having. So we appreciate that. We have our regular board meeting tomorrow. So if any of the attendees would like to, get more information about the board or what we're doing, or, have any comments or, interest in tomorrow's agenda, please come on in or give Rachel a call. So with that said, I'll go ahead and adjourn the meeting.
Hallelujah.